Fabulous people. Good morning. Good morning. I used my new coffee maker this morning to make iced coffee. It's so good. And it has Trader Joe's creamer in it. I went to Athens this weekend. If you guys are not familiar with like the area that I'm from, I don't have a Trader Joe's like super close, but I went to Athens anyways this weekend. So you know, your girl got some of her favorite Trader Joe's items. But what are we here to talk about? It's Monday morning. We've been reading all weekend. What are we here to talk about? I finally, and I know I'm late to the party, you guys. I know I am so late to this party. But who cares if I'm late? I still did it. I finally read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And it's as good, it's every bit as good as everybody on Book Talk says. Oh, it is phenomenal, you guys, just phenomenal. I was a little nervous going in because I had recently been burned by a Book Talk book. If you guys remember, I read the Spanish Love Deception, and it was like always talked about on Book Talk and really, really popular, and it wasn't for me. Like, I struggled to even finish that book. I almost DNF'd it. I'm glad I didn't because, like I said, the last 25% were really good, but the absolute boring build up to get to that last 25% were a lot. And I almost stopped reading it multiple times. But this book, I was, like I said, a little nervous after having been so let down by Spanish Love Deception to review it or to read it. It was so good. It hooked me from the very beginning. So, full spoilers in here. If you don't know what Evelyn Hugo is about, I'm not going to give away the big spoiler at the end, but there are going to be a lot of spoilers. So if you haven't read Evelyn Hugo, you don't like spoilers, and you're going to read Evelyn Hugo, turn it off right now. Thanks for the view, but come back when you've read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So what the book is about is this writer. It starts out talking about this writer, and she writes for a magazine called Vivant, and I'm imagining it's like a Vogue or a People, you know, something with big time stories. You know, the cover story is always the biggest thing. And she's not very like high up the ladder, if you would. She's like a newbie, kind of. But her boss calls her into her office and says, hey, Evelyn Hugo, who is this now 79, 80-year-old woman, reached out to us and wants you to interview her. She hadn't done interviews, especially not like interviews about her life, in decades. But she wants you specifically to interview her. And she's like, what? And the boss is like, you know, yeah, we tried to get other people. We suggested some of our higher, better writers. And she was like, no, it's either Monique, which is the name of the writer, or nobody. And they were like, well, I mean, obviously then it's going to be Monique because this is going to be huge, right? Like, she hasn't talked about her life in decades. Who was Evelyn Hugo? She was like this 50s and 60s movie star. Imagine your Marilyn Monroe, your Sophia Loren, that kind of style of movie star. She's half Cuban with blonde hair. So I imagine like a Sophia Loren-y, more olivey, maybe even darker than that skin tone, with like a blonde, really platinum blonde hair. Probably very stunning, very eye-catching. She puts a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? She puts a lot of notice on her chest size. So she uses her boobs, she says, to get a lot of things, including to Hollywood. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So Monique, the writer, goes to meet with Evelyn Hugo, and Evelyn says, I'm not doing a Vivant cover. And Monique is like, what? Why am I here? She's like, I'm going to sell you the exclusive rights to my biography. When I die, you put it out, and you make millions of dollars, and my conscience is clear. And Monique is like, why are you doing this for me? You don't have any idea who I am. You don't know me. We've never met. I've asked my mom. She doesn't know you. What's the deal? And Evelyn is like, I'll tell you eventually, probably at the end, but I want you to take down my life story. And so it begins. Evelyn Hugo starts out like very poor in New York City, in Hell's Kitchen actually. And she uses her body when she's like 14 to get married to a man who is on his way to Hollywood. Her mom had always had big dreams of making it big in Hollywood, and she died when Evelyn was very young. And so Evelyn kind of like took over that dream. And this book goes through all 7 of her husbands and kind of why she married each one and what she got from each marriage. Evelyn is not a good person, and she's the first person to tell you she's not a good person. She's a user. She uses people for things. And there's some really, I almost spit my coffee out there, sorry. There's some really heavy like themes in this book and questions that it makes you ask yourself. So one of the first things that Monique asks Evelyn is, who is your greatest love? Because you've had 7 husbands. It was Harry, wasn't it? Harry was the one that she was married to the longest. And Evelyn says, oh, Harry was my dearest, deepest friend. But no, he wasn't the love of my life. And she proceeds to, like I said, tell her story. It turns out that she had a decades-long, off and on, love affair with her co-star from Little Women, an actress named Celia St. James. And Evelyn was bisexual, and Celia was a lesbian, and but they had to hide it at that time. So a lot of the marriages were just cover-ups. The first marriage was to get to Hollywood. The second marriage was another big-name actor, and that was for love, but he treated her terribly. So she was like, I'm never marrying for love again. Then the third marriage, I believe she had like a string. I'm trying to place them all in my head. She had a string of fake marriages to kind of cover up her situation with Celia, which was always kind of a bone of contention between her and Celia. Her and Harry do end up getting married because Harry is also gay, and they want companionship. So her and Harry end up getting married, and Celia actually ends up marrying Harry's partner, the person that Harry loves. And so for a while, the foursome of them, Celia, Evelyn, Harry, Evelyn's husband, and then I believe Joe or John was the name of Celia's husband, who was also gay and hiding. They were like a foursome, and Harry and Evelyn had a daughter out of that, and the 4 of them raised the daughter, and it was Evelyn had stretches of very happy years. But then Evelyn thought she fell in love again with another man, another producer other than Harry. And turns out that man was just using her. And so after divorcing Harry and marrying the French director, she got divorced from the French director. And her last marriage ended up being to Celia's brother. Because they're in their 50s now. And Celia is sick and is not going to live very much longer, and they want to be as close as possible to make up for all the time that they had lost throughout all these years of on and off. And so her last marriage, Evelyn marries Celia's brother so that they can be in a house together and spend Celia's last days of her life very happily on the beach in Spain. Money is no object at this point for Evelyn. She has all the money in the world. She's never been so financially well off. And she does find some peace in giving to LGBTQ and GLAAD charities throughout her life, and that gives her some peace, even though she's hiding herself, and she feels very guilty about it because she's very successful, and she's only that successful because she is hiding herself. Like, if she was out and in the open with her sexuality, she would not be successful or have the money that she had. So she has a lot of guilt with that. But it's a beautiful story about a woman's life, and man, it just really hits home, like, the power of staying true to yourself, the power of love and how beautiful it is, and how it's never perfect. Sometimes, you know, you fall apart, you fall back together type of situations. And yeah, it just is a story about a very strong woman. I'm not going to give you the spoiler of how Evelyn knows Monique, but that one was a gut check. And it is a brilliant, brilliant book. I feel like I stayed up half the night. If you can't tell, I'm a little on the sleepy side, because I stayed up half the night finishing it. It's a brilliant piece of work. Taylor Jenkins Reed is the author, I believe. And yeah, I'll definitely be looking for more of her work. Not sure if this is going to be like a one-off situation, like Colleen Hoover was for me, where I loved Verity, but I've tried to read a few other of her books, and they're not the same to me. But I'm hopeful that Taylor Jenkins Reid has other amazing stuff out there. I highly recommend you read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I know that they're talking about making it a movie. Please read the book first. I don't know anything about a movie. I've heard rumors that they're making one. I don't know how they're going to cast it. Please read the book first. The book is phenomenal. I would hate for a crappy movie to ruin this for me. So read the book. You will love it. I love you guys. And I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.